Hello everyone, it's Daryl. Hope everybody's having a great day. It's still winter time here in Michigan, and we had some snowfall earlier this week, and my snowblower failed to deliver. This machine has been sitting out back for probably a year and a half, and I did put stable in it, but I probably didn't put enough in, or it went bad after even sitting a year and a half, which is probably too long to let it go. Honestly, I should have started it up and cleaned it out last fall, and I didn't. Because honestly, most of the time I don't even use it. You can see I live in a little short driveway here, just barely long enough for a full truck. And most of the time we just drive over the snow, pack it down, and don't even bother shoveling it. And it usually melts before it gets too deep. But with that big snowfall we had this week, you can see the pile of snow that we piled up by hand shoveling. Well, I shouldn't say we. My son Dominic from the Fishing with Dom channel did all this shoveling for me by hand and piled up the snow here. And today, even though we're probably unlikely to get another big snowfall this season, we're going to show you how to clean up the carburetor and get one of these running again after you've failed to put it away correctly. So this is the Toro CCR1000, and this is one of my favorite single stage snow throwers. It's just such a nice, well-built machine. It's got a pull start and electric start. It has a primer button, and up underneath it has a choke. So it makes it really easy to start most of the time. And the only thing I can say it has a clutch too. The blade or the auger doesn't engage unless you pull the bail handle back. The only downside I really don't like about it is how short this handle is here to adjust the discharge chute. You really can't reach it while you're back here. I wish it was a little longer so you could just lean forward a little and rotate it like that. But like I say, you have to walk over to the side and move it back and forth like so. And then the angle chute discharge, you just pull and push up and down like that. Pretty basic, simple machine. Easy to work on. Super easy to work on. We can lay it back like that. We can access the scraper bar and the paddle blades. Or we can tip it up the other way. And we can access the carburetor and spark plug from back here. So, super easy. Let's get started, and I will show you how to take this apart. There's really only, I think, 3 or 4 screws you got to take out to remove this lower panel here. We've got one here, and one here. And I believe once those 3 come out, this whole lower panel here will pull back a little bit and pop right up out of the way, giving us full access to the carburetor. Alright, the 3 screws are out, so now we're going to carefully grasp the plastic, pull it down a little bit, and just slide it right out. You can see that wasn't cracked last year. I don't know how that happened. But sometimes it gets old and brittle and it just cracks, so what are you going to do? Alright, now we are right here at the point where we need to be. If we wanted to replace the spark plug, we would remove these 2 screws here, one there and one here. You can use either a straight slotted screwdriver or a 5/16 inch nut driver. And this little tab cover panel here just lifts up, flops over, and there's a spark plug access hole right in this area right here. Because we're going to use a 1/2 inch wrench, and we're going to take the nut off the bottom of the carburetor float bowl and have a look inside, see what we find. Alright, what we found is some very thick, viscous fuel and oil mix, which it doesn't smell too bad, but you can see it's really heavy on the oil. So I'm thinking our mix ratio here is off on this. The fuel sometimes evaporates and it causes the fuel mix to thicken up because you end up with a higher concentration of oil and less gasoline. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean it out, and we're going to, where did I put the nut? Oh, here's the bowl nut is here, and this particular bowl nut has a fuel pickup jet that goes all the way through the side down here on the bottom, and that looks pretty clean. And that has a smaller jet hole, which we can't really see, I don't think. There we go. It has a smaller jet hole down in the very center there. We're going to run a small wire through that and some carb cleaner and make sure that's clean. And then while we're here, we're going to clean out the housing of the carburetor and spray some cleaning fluid, maybe run a wire up through the main jet in the center, and put some fresh fuel mix in it, and see if that works. I like to use a welding tip cleaner to clean the jets of my carburetor. The trick to it is not to drill or take metal away from the brass as you're pushing it through. You find the tip or the wire that's just a hair smaller than the hole that needs to go through, and gently push it through and clean the debris out without making the hole in the jet any bigger. So we're going to run one up through the bottom here. Just pop it back and forth a little. Make sure there's no debris in there. And once we're done, we'll blow the whole thing out with some cleaner again. There we go. Now the whole carburetor's cleaned off. The inside's clean. And we should be able to go ahead and put this all back together now, which is just a simple matter of putting the bowl back on. And there's a trick to putting the bowl back on. Let me show you how to put the bowl back on properly. You can look down inside. The bowl has a raised up area over on one side. That raised up area should line up with the hinge for the float. And the hinge for the float is right here, this little rod with a spring on it. So you're going to twist so that flat part goes up over that area of the bolt right there. Push it into place. Carefully put your bowl nut and gasket back on. Don't forget the gasket or it'll leak. It'll leak like crazy. So there we go. And we're going to gently tighten that up with the half inch wrench, which I just had in my hand a minute ago, and now I can't find. Oh, there it is. Half inch or 13 millimeter, same thing. Do a job for you here. You can use a socket, box end, open end, doesn't matter. A 6-point socket is preferred, or a 6-point box end wrench. But usually these aren't on that tight, so you don't have to worry about stripping the threads or rounding the corners off. But I like to use a 6-point most of the time, because you just never know. And like I say, it's not super tight, just good and snug. Alright, check your choke, make sure that works freely. Get any debris and dirt out of here. And while we're here, we'll point out your, there's no actual throttle adjustment, so to speak, on these. There's no throttle cable or throttle lever. If you find that your machine is somehow not running fast enough, because over the years it's gotten out of adjustment or the spring is maybe loosened up a little bit, let's see if we can see a screwdriver. The RPMs are controlled by this tab that goes up and down and this governor spring here. And so in order to make it go faster, you gently bend this little tab to the left toward the outside of the machine. That will put more pressure on the throttle spring, which in turn will give you increased RPMs. But you really shouldn't do that unless you have a noticeable problem with reduced RPMs and you've already exhausted the other possibilities like cleaning your carburetor and replacing the spark plug. And since it's such an easy job, we're going to go ahead and pull the spark plug out and show you that too while we're here. We removed the two 5/16 inch screws, and now this little dashboard panel will just flip away and pull out. We'll just let it hang down there. We can clean this up while we're here. And our spark plug's going to be right here. We'll gently twist the wire and pull, and there we go. The spark plug is accessible. Yep, it's 3/4. So that's a 3/4 inch base spark plug. We're going to put our ratchet handle on that and pop it out. Taking the screwdriver out, or the spark plug out. Have a look at it. It looks like it's been in there a while. Huh. Not terrible. That's a CJ8. That's a CJ8Y because the tip extends out further beyond the threads than a standard CJ8. So you can get away with using a CJ8 in a CJY engine, but you shouldn't use a CJY in a CJ8 engine because this extended tip can go down and hit the piston. Let me see if we got a new spark plug to put in it, or if we're just going to clean this one up. always hand start your new plugs. That greatly reduces the risk of cross-threading them. You should be able to screw it all the way down to the crush gasket with your fingertips. And then once you get it down close to the bottom, then you can bring out the wrench and do the final tightening. And the tightening doesn't have to be a lot on a spark plug. It's just enough to get it seated firmly and to bend the crush sleeve down to meet and seal against the surface of the cylinder head. There we go. Got it. So it touches, and then we give it just a little extra turn until it feels like it's seated. And then we wiggle the spark plug wire cap, put that back on. And now we're going to reinstall the dash panel by putting the little tabs down into the slots in the bottom and then flipping it forward. Now we'll install the two 5/16 inch screws that held that in place. Tighten both of these down nice and snug. There we go. And now, just to be safe, because there's a little bit of fuel still left in it, we're going to take our needle nose pliers. We're going to remove the fuel line and then drain the fuel into a container for disposal. Actually, I'll probably just burn it in a fire pit, but we're gonna squeeze that and then just work that backwards a little bit, like so. Then we'll take the pliers and grab a hold of it on the pipe and gently spin it a little bit to break it loose, and then we'll just grab it and squeeze it a little bit and pull it off, work it till it pops off of that nipple like that. Now we can get a container and let the fuel drain into said container. While that's draining, I noticed that the discharge chute was a little sticky, so we got some WD-40 here. We're gonna spray it all around the edge of here where the plastic slides on itself. We're gonna get it down in the cracks real good. Even sometimes it's a good idea to turn it all the way one way and spray it real down real good again. That way you're sure that you're getting the lubricant everywhere, all the way around. I would prefer to use white lithium grease on this because it holds up better, especially in the cold weather. But just like carb cleaner, I appear to be out of the white lithium. Alright, I think our fuel is drained now. Let's put the fuel line back on. We're putting the fuel line back on. Let's see if we can grab it behind, about an inch behind the end. And we're going to hook it over the nipple. Oops. And just wiggle it till it goes on all the way up to the carburetor. And we're going to grab the little tabs on the spring clip. Let's see if I can get it in focus here, right there. And squeeze. I'm just going to work that slowly up and over till it gets back in its original position, perfectly into the old groove, so it holds that nice and tight on there. Now we got to put the bottom cover back on. Not really any tricks to putting this bottom, maybe one trick to putting the bottom cover on, and that is to make sure these little locking tabs down here at the bottom, where are they at? Right there, one on the left, one on the right, slide over this lip here on the bottom, and that the choke lever comes through one of these slots here and doesn't get bent. Those are the two main things we got to worry about. So all back together, you can see it all lines up nice and neat here. The top edge of the bottom panel goes underneath the dash panel. The two tabs on the bottom panel go hook over the bottom of the metal frame, and on the right side the bottom panel tucks up underneath the top panel. 3 screws tightened up, ready to go. The choke lever is easily accessible and right here where it's supposed to be. And now we can flip it back upright, refill it with fresh, clean 32-to-1 mixed fuel, and see what happens. Set and soak down for a couple minutes so that the fuel can flow through the lines and fill the bowl up. And now we're going to see what will happen to it. Let's see. I'm going to move the choke all the way over to the on position, which is over to the right. Make sure the key is turned on. And we're going to punch the primer like 6 or 7 times. And then we're going to give it a pull, see what happens. What do you say? Kind of hard with one hand, but we'll give it a try. Ready? Here we go. What I'm doing here is tilting it back so that any underburned fuel and old oil in the bottom of the crankcase will get sucked up into the combustion chamber and burn itself out, cleaning the lower end out of any old fuel and debris. This is a pretty solid, deeply packed pile of snow here. As you can see, just a little bit of pushing and bumping it along, and it digs right in and throws it quite a distance ahead of where we're working. And there we go. Looking good. You can see, quick start to finish, snowblower tune-up, less than half an hour. And as you can also see, it worked great. So, I say that's why I love these little Toro CCRs. It's only 3 horsepower, but for a small yard, sidewalk, a little tiny driveway, if you don't get a bunch of snow, it works great. It's really a good little machine. And the electric start makes it even better. But you saw how easy it was to start. This thing still got good compression, good spark, and it usually starts right up without any issues. So, if I can do it, you can do it. Save yourself some money. Fix it yourself. Don't go to a shop. Get it done quicker and right. And you'll be happy you saved some money. You'll feel like you accomplished something, did something yourself without having to pay someone. And one more tip, because their snowblowers have been in the news lately, especially the Toros, about some amputation hazard, because people are turning the auger blades off if the blades get clogged up, and they're reaching down in there into the chute to clean it out inside while the engine is running. Don't do that. Even like this, you have the safety handle there that releases the auger. If it gets clogged up, do not stick your hand down in there while it's running. Even if the auger's not spinning, the safety is released, your big lever on the 2-stage one's pulled back, don't do it. Shut it off before you clean it out. And that goes for even if you're using a stick. If you're using a stick tool or something to clean it out, shut it off first. Safety first, people. Safety first. Because you never know when that auger might accidentally engage. And even if you got a stick in there, it can rip the stick out of your hand. It can send it up flying into your face, into your eye, into your body. It's just not worth the risk. Shut the thing off, clean the snow out, then fire it back up. All right. I'm sorry I got so passionate about that, but safety around operating power equipment like that is something that really I take seriously. And I say I hope you do too, because there's so many injuries that are perfectly avoidable if you do things the right way. All right, well, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye for now.